multiple or placing foster children in multiple placement homes. You'll hear me refer to the word placement, and that means where they are placed, so that means their foster home. And this is basically to discuss the impact that it has on a foster child, how traumatic it can be to be moved from place to place, and just how we can maybe try and avoid placing foster children in so many homes. This policy brief is useful not only for current foster parents, but for future foster parents, anybody who is considering it, child welfare workers, anyone that works with or interacts with a foster child on a regular, if not daily basis. And it's just intended to address the long-term effects on a foster child and concerns that can come up for their future later on. So here are some statistics for you to look at. The first one, according to the Children's Bureau, close to 46% of all foster children are placed with non-related foster parents. This means that nobody in the child's family was available to take in the child, or they were not qualified per the state to take in the child, which means almost one half of all foster children are not able to stay within a relative's home. They are placed with strangers. This is also the difference between a community family rather than a kinship family. Kinship obviously refers to somebody who is related to the child versus not related. The second one, 6% of all foster children remain in group homes due to lack of placement homes or too many disruptions. And this is what the main idea of this presentation is the effects of multiple disruptions. This also means that wherever the child is in that state, there were just not enough foster homes available at the time, or as it states, they had some issues in the foster home they were at and were forced to be removed. The last one, about 1/3 of all foster children will experience more than one foster home in the course of 12 months. That is a little alarming. That means quite a few foster children don't get to stay in the first foster home that they are put in. They will experience at least multiple homes, at least more than one foster home within the course of 12 months. Hopefully a child is not in the system for that long, but if they are, then they are more likely to be removed and placed in another home. So before we look at the impacts on foster children, we can look at why the children are removed from their foster homes in the first place. Why were the parents wanting that child out? There was a study conducted by Joseph Doyle Jr. 2007, and it was a study that measured the effects of foster care in general on foster children, and also the outcomes of the foster children, and just how being in foster care affects them anyway. And in this study, it discussed, some of the biggest reasons for having the children removed from their foster care home, and it said that the biggest factor reported by parents was the child's behaviors. And this is kind of a very vague answer. It can encompass a lot of behaviors, but that was the number one reported reason. So let's take a look at what some of the behaviors look like. And this information came from the study by Joseph Price and colleagues. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but he stated that the most reported behaviors or reasons for parents wanting to disrupt included aggression, disruption, probably at home, maybe in the classroom, destructiveness, and oppositional behaviors, just being defiant. If you can imagine, a typical child who hasn't been through the foster care system, they probably display some of those behaviors, but not quite at such an extreme level. They probably throw
Some people watch
tantrums
the show
and
and have
talk back to
dreams
their
or
parents and have to learn,
something like
you
this
know,
in
how
their
to
head for themselves.
behave well as they get older. But if you can imagine what it might be like for a foster child who has experienced maybe abuse, neglect, um, or were never taught that those behaviors were not okay, um, these are probably amplified and they are probably a lot worse than what a typical child would display. Um, and as you can see, other reasons for disrupting other than behaviors included children reuniting with their siblings. So maybe they put the child in another home that one of their siblings were in because for some reason they were split up. Conflicts between foster parents and biological parents. So obviously foster parents not getting along with the child's biological parents, um, and foster parents that stop fostering children, maybe they decide to, they just randomly decide that they don't want to do it anymore. It's unfortunate for the foster children, but they have that right to do so. And complaints or accusations against foster parent. I feel like that one could be a little scary. You definitely want to hope that any foster home is prepared and safe and qualified to take in foster children, but that may not always be the case, and perhaps something did happen where the foster parent was accused of also neglecting or abusing the foster child, and therefore they were removed. Now that we know why the children are asked to be removed in the first place, we can talk about the effects that it has on a foster child when they are asked to be removed from a home. These effects include low self-esteem, bad grades, higher risk of being in jail, substance abuse, sexual behaviors, need for mental health services, problems forming their own identity, and lack of positive social support. These points come from an article and a study actually by Tonya Stott called The Placement, Instability, and Risky Behaviors of Youth Aging Out of Foster Care. And the whole study is not only based on youth aging out, but also the instability that comes with the multiple placements. And obviously with low self-esteem, a child is at risk for being easily influenced by their peers, or they lack the confidence to make good choices, or they lack the confidence to chase some of their goals. With higher risk of incarceration, it implies that they are more likely to be involved with crime. With substance abuse, that's anything from alcohol use to major drug use. Sexual behaviors, that includes teen pregnancy and higher risk of STDs. The need for mental health services, that child might need therapy, counseling, even medication if they have any sort of mental health disorder. Definitely problems forming their own identity. If you can imagine being a young kid, young being anywhere from a baby to 17, and not really having a place to call home after a while because you've been removed and placed in another home, or you've been removed and placed in another home multiple times. You have a hard time really deciding where it is that you fit in when, a family doesn't even want you there, and your true blood family isn't allowed to have you because you were removed. So that's definitely really probably the hardest one, I would say. And lack of positive brought to the issue at all. Right now, when a parent chooses to disrupt or remove a child, they basically call the child welfare worker, normally referred to as CPS or DPS, and they basically ask that the child be picked up because they can't handle having the child there anymore. Um, According to an article by Doyle Jr., about one-fourth of children in foster care are not reunited with their family, and they're also not adopted. They are placed in group homes or they age out of the foster care system. And aging out refers to when the foster child turns 18 and they've been in a group home or the family they were with chose not to adopt them for whatever reason. They are now legally an adult and they're basically on their own. They don't have that strong support system like a lot of us are lucky enough to have. So what are my recommendations? This is what this policy brief comes down to, is what should happen in order to address this. Definitely more training, classes, and interventions for future and current foster parents, as well as the child welfare workers. I think it's important for all of those groups to know, the workers especially, they should maybe have those conversations with the foster parents before they are willing to pick up the child. Just teaching them the importance of trying to stick it out so they understand the long-term effects of what could happen if they have that child removed. Just appeal to the child's emotional well-being might help to help the parent think before they act on it and have them, just removed like that. So these are the future adults and leaders of our world also, these foster children. They're going to grow up to be the future adults, and we want them to have successful futures for sure. A study conducted by Price and colleagues was meant to help foster parents who were having issues with foster children's behaviors. It was a 6-week course, a long time, that foster parents actually went to this course, and they were taught how to handle behaviors a little bit better, what they could possibly expect, and just to prepare them for anything that could happen. And it also, it not only helps in, less disruptions by the parents, but it actually improves some of the foster children's behaviors as well. To continue on with recommendations, as far as interventions and training, they should definitely be nationwide, all over the U.S., not just in the state of Arizona or states with the most foster children, but all over. Anybody who can foster a child should know the importance of this information. The training should definitely focus on how to provide stability for the foster children, positive reinforcement for their behaviors, and effective behavior management. So the stability is important because they've already been removed from their biological home. So it's important that they have a place that they can go to and be able to stay for a longer period of time. Positive reinforcement in the study conducted by Price and colleagues, it was stated that positive reinforcement when these children did something good really helped them, and it just kept them on a track that they wanted to keep doing those behaviors, and they wanted to keep receiving that positive feedback. And effective behavior management, since behavior is the main reason for foster parents disrupting, I think this is important, and just how are they going to handle each of those behaviors that they should prepare for? Is it, no matter how minimal it may be, just having some sort of plan, for sure. If they, want to plan on, if they know that a child is coming into their home who already has some severe emotional trauma, if they're able to get that information they gonna react when the child does display certain behaviors? How are they going to keep the biological children in the home from, treating that foster child any differently? These are all really important things to consider. So even though the recommendations seem quite simple, they realistically probably aren't. Um, it's kind of like, well, how would we do that? How would we implement it? My ideas are that any of the trainings or interventions, um, even though it's going to be nationwide, it's, well, where are they going to get that? Well, it should take place at any of the foster care agencies, and it should be a requirement for foster parents and child welfare workers to learn the information before placing children in their homes. And this could even take place in the form of conversations between the workers and foster parents, not necessarily a formal, um, well, I think there should also be a formal training for sure, but also just ongoing plans and ongoing conversations about working with the foster children and the foster parents. And as I said before, definitely having a plan ready for those foster parents. A list, uh, something hung up in the house, people to call, where to go, how to react. A plan for sure for dealing with these behaviors to keep it from um, disrupting. And the biggest question of all would be, how would these trainings and information be funded? Well, that is probably, that would probably be the biggest hurdle. Hopefully the foster care agencies could throw something like that into their budget, or maybe the state or government would make it mandatory for any foster parents who are considering doing foster care. It's never easy when it comes to the question of money, but it would probably take more money for these interventions and training and education to happen. So definitely just trying to find money for that would be the biggest hurdle. The last question I wanted to leave you guys with is, what can we do? What can you do as somebody who is, a student, a friend, a citizen, our peers? What can we do at our level, just in our community? Word of mouth, definitely. Now that you've seen this presentation, is just, taking the time to educate others, and also think about, do you know anyone who is a foster child, or was a foster child, or anybody who was adopted, and what kind of experience did they have? Have they talked to you about it? Is there anything they said that they would change or do differently or wish had been different? And also, were you a foster child yourself? And what was your experience like? And if you ever feel comfortable enough to talk about it with others, spreading the information and educating is one thing that we can do ourselves right now. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation on the impacts on foster children that take place when they are put in multiple foster homes. I hope it was useful and beneficial and, you know, very informational for you. I chose this topic mainly because I am doing my fieldwork hours at a foster care adoption agency, Arizona's Children's Association, and the more I've learned about it, I obviously also did my fieldwork hours at Capstone too, and this was something that really appealed to me and I think is important, and I wish that, there was more attention drawn to it. I think that there's more awareness coming to the need for foster care. So as long as, we keep educating people and alerting people of it, I can only hope that the situation gets better and better for our foster kids.
$5 premium deal. Free taco and a Baja Blast.